Hello everybody, it's vanburman here and welcome to the top 5 worst games of 2014. Hopefully you enjoy it. If you have any comments, leave them down below, and if there's anything you disagree with me, let me know, and that'd be great to hear from you. Thank you very much. Enjoy. And at number 5 on the list we have Magic 2015. This is going to be one of the running themes you'll probably see throughout this worst games of 2015, is the games that are released every single year without fail, and very little improvement is made to them at all. There's nothing in this game to say otherwise either. Obviously the actual duel mechanics are effectively the same since 2012. There have not been too many improvements to do to that, but then again, there's not needed because they do work rather well anyway. Some gripes I have with the game is the lack of starter decks in order to use. You get given the one and you have to make do with that. And that also leads me on to the online part of the game. You have to complete the first full section of the campaign in order to unlock online, and that in itself can be a little bit troublesome. As I say, it depends on what side or what deck you take to start off with, and if you can manage to beat the boss in the first section of the campaign, which can be quite difficult and took me a couple of tries, not down to my own skill, just because I didn't have the cards available in order to do it. Now of course with this game it does retail for about £7 or £8 on Steam, which is a pretty good, decent price considering they're going to release one every single year, but if you're willing to spend the extra £6 or £7 you can effectively complete the game without even loading it up by downloading all the DLC, which unlocks all of the packs and the cards. So not something that I'm happy about, and not something that I was willing to support. I just did, as you remember, I did a video on it saying that I wasn't going to buy it. I did eventually, but I didn't do any videos on it other than this one, which was the demo, just to see if I could see any major improvements, and I couldn't. Now I don't have any problem with this game. In fact, I actually quite like the Magic games. They're always good fun to play. It's a card game that I have a lot of time for, and I really enjoyed learning it in the first instance, but it's just a problem I have with the culture of these sort of games. I was talking to one of my friends before, and he was saying that effectively on WWE 2K15 that you could pretty much not have to complete the game and just pay £1.50 to unlock all of the unlockables that you would naturally get by playing the game through. And yeah, that is the main issue that I have with the game, and also its lack of any substantial improvement other than a change to the menu and, well, being more difficult to be social and playing with your friends, which is what a lot of people like these card games for. Also, it didn't add in the new mode, which has been really pushed in the past year in real life, which is of course the Commander mode in Magic. If you haven't seen that, it's worth looking up because it's a really great idea, and one that which I would have expected to be in Magic 2015, but unfortunately they didn't implement it. So that was kind of a disappointment. I presume we'll probably see it next year, but yeah, this game came out towards the latter end of 2014, and therefore I think I should have really included that as a game mode. But anyway, that's why it deserves number 5 on this list. And number 4 on the list goes to Velvet Sundown, a free-to-play game released on Steam earlier this year, and it came across to me with, I actually had a lot of hope for this particular game. I was really looking forward to playing it, and unfortunately the thing that lets this game down is in fact the community. You're given your character at the start of it, you'll have to solve a murder mystery or something of a similar situation with a certain scenario that involves talking and conversing with the other players. They're all controlled by real people, and that then leads you to a conclusion which you can between you all see if you got right. And there's a bit of deception there, but it is of course a lot of role playing and staying in your character to in order to be able to play the game properly. The problem I had is that a lot of younger people, or immature people even, were taking part in the game. I was this character you can see here. This isn't actually me playing it, but and a lot of people were talking about, you know, wanting to have sex with my particular character rather than role-playing properly, being in the game and actually acting out the character that they are given. There's seemingly no way to filter better matchmaking at all. There's no way to downgrade someone that isn't actually role-playing properly and effectively. And then also you have the way that this game tries to make money, and that is by selling you the premium edition, which unlocks other scenarios. You know, you would think that, you know, that would be quite good, but they give you a free one every now and again, and if you don't find some good players to play with, or you get put in a couple of bad lobbies, it can really leave a bad taste in your mouth. It would be good if everyone did stay in their character. I tried to do it myself, but I ended up just getting bored because no one wanted to play it properly, and it was a bit bland, to be honest. The guy who is playing it on here seems to have a lot more options available to him than I had. It was literally just a couple of bits of evidence, and you would share them around, show other members. I think probably I had the murder one, which is a bit more clean cut, rather than this one where you get to do some other stuff as well. But nevertheless, it was very disappointing, and don't get me wrong, if you can find some good people to play with, it would be, you know, worth doing. But from a roleplay point of view, there's just, like I say, you can see this happening in this video now. They're always talking about sex, but there you go. Anyway, that's why it makes on to number 4. Had a bit of potential. I was quite excited for it, and it just let me down. Such is the top 5 worst games list, I'm afraid. And third on my list goes to a game that I didn't even play, because I never actually play the Call of Duty games, but it is Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, and I often feel that Activision just pump these out every single year to earn themselves some money in what is their greatest cash cow, and probably one of the greatest cash cow game series out there. And every year they come up with these new and innovative game modes and functionalities that, of course, Activision have come up with all by themselves. For example, in Ghosts, having a dog companion is extremely reminiscent of Fallout 3, quite frankly, and Fallout New Vegas, of course, the whole companion thing, and it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth, to be honest, with all that. And this year, it's almost like they've seen the success of Titanfall and went about to reskin their game in a similar vein that might capture on some of that success. And it's not really done that well. Call of Duty is always going to sell extremely highly, even if they brought out the same game twice in a row, let's be honest, just with 2 more maps. And once again, it suffers the same fatal flaws. As always, it's not a proper shooter as such. It's a twitch shooter. You know, you see them first, you get the shots away, dead. Simple as that. Although this guy isn't doing that well, but that's not really the point. You know, there's been a lot of the lack of absolute story in the game is a huge drawback. Not like we used to see in older first-person shooters that incorporated a really good story as well and made it more of an immersive game. This one is go straight onto multiplayer and try and kill some 12-year-old Americans. Not really my style of game, and just not anything that particularly I want to play or would see myself having that much fun in, really. Having said that, I didn't enjoy CSGO either, but that suffers the same flaws, really. But yeah, it's the whole culture of pumping out a new game every year with some slight modifications, some slight changes, and basically just going on whatever the flavour of the time is in order to keep up and seeming like they're innovating, when actually, like I say, most of the time just being a copycat. But my opinion. I'm sure a lot of you do like Call of Duty and do enjoy it as a game, but for me, it is not something I will spend my time playing. And yeah, for that reason, the fact that it's really annoyed me over the course of many years is why it comes number 3 on the list. And if Call of Duty keep up their similar sort of practices, I presume whatever game they release in 2015 will be on the subsequent list next year. And the unfortunate second place, or the silver prize, goes to the Elder Scrolls Online. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a massive fan of the Elder Scrolls. I think Bethesda have done a really good job with the series generally, but the Elder Scrolls Online was such a big disappointment, really, the way it played, and just being able to get into the game, I felt really difficult. The main story didn't seem, or the beginning of the main story didn't seem quite as rich and as purposeful as the other games that I've played. The fact that it was so expensive as well, the price of it was absolutely astonishing. The monthly subscriptions as well, I thought was far too high. It basically felt like a great big money grab, effectively. Now, there was a lot of talks recently about it going free to play, doing a sort of Guild Wars model, because of course they did charge a lot for the game and a lot for the other items and different things you could get from it, such as the mounts and I forget what else there was. There was other things anyway, but yeah, the point I wanted to make is that it just felt a bit closed off from the whole Elder Scrolls universe. It was more like they were just using its name and some of its lore in a whole new experience, rather than it having any substance. I understand they put a lot of time and effort into making the quests and the storyline, and that is appreciated of course, but they still can't really get away from the fact that it has a very MMO feel to it. I was expecting it to be like an MMO that feels Elder Scrolls, rather than an Elder Scrolls that feels like an MMO. Maybe that's just my own criticism, but I do feel disappointed by the game, especially as I did have quite a lot of high hopes, but I also sort of knew what to expect when it came out, and I gave it its fair shot, of course. And should it go free to play, which I'm hoping it will do, I will no doubt revisit it and see if I can get into it. I apologise for the video quality. That is obviously how bad my videos looked at the start, or towards the start of the year. Perhaps I was doing a stream, but anyway, that's my that's criticism for me, I suppose. But yeah, unfortunately, the Elder Scrolls has to take a place on the list purely because of how disappointing it was. Not that it did anything majorly wrong, but I seem to have a problem with games and cash grabbing today. I'd much rather have seen another first-person Skyrim rather than this online game that we got. And the first place on the list goes to Assassin's Creed Unity. I'm sure that Adam won't mind me nicking some of his footage for this, because I never actually bought it or played it myself. As part of this also comes with Ubisoft's decision to only release this on Uplay, originally in the UK for the PC, which I thought was a bit of a, well, quite frankly, a dumbass move. But Assassin's Creed Unity, lots of problems with it on release. A huge file, obviously, to download for PC gamers, whatever sort of connection you've got. And then we had all sorts of graphical issues, lack of optimization. And when you're bringing a game out for the PC, you really do have to think all that through. You've got obviously the potential for much higher graphical qualities, and it was a big mistake by Ubisoft on release. Even worse than Creative Assembly's last year with Rome 2, and it caused the game to run like, sludge, quite frankly. And a lot of people who had bought it, who well met the requirements, were struggling to play on any sort of a of a good frame rate, which, for a fighting game, or a game with action and fighting sequences in it, you need a good frame rate in order to be able to enjoy that and to execute your strategy effectively. Another problem I have with this game is, from what I've seen, it looks complete and utter pants. Don't really have that much love for the Assassin's Creed franchise at the best of times, but once again, it's another yearly release that's forced out towards its loyal fans in order to create themselves more money for Ubisoft's massive pot. And they're probably going to continue to do this. They obviously have already had some information about the new game where they will fix everything they did wrong in Unity. Well, how many times do we hear game developers and publishers do that, and then that comes up with a load more new problems that they hadn't foreseen. And of course, if you don't change the game up a bit, it's going to get a bit stagnant, especially when you consider how broad the Assassin's Creed franchise has got now. And it's well deserving of the worst game of this year, purely for its disappointment, and basically for the creative decisions made by Ubisoft, especially with its launch, and with its lack of support as well. So, there needs to be some justice done for such for such appalling acts, and this is the only way I can do it, and that is of course by giving it the title of the worst game of 2014. I look forward to, well, I don't really, sarcastically, I look forward to next year's edition of the Assassin's Creed franchise, the Call of Duty franchise, and of course the Magic games. We'll see if they can improve on their absolute dismal showing of this year. Join me then, although you will be waiting a while if you decide to do that. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I'll see you all very soon. Goodbye.